Last year...
You're really stepping up your game here. You got a smartphone and a YouTube channel?
Oh, man. Call me crazy, right? Yeah. Matter of fact, one of the guys last year that I helped, I shuttled him to the start, Amicalola, and he and I kind of became pretty good friends. And he's from the UK, so he stayed with us for a couple of weeks because he had some time before his visa ran out.
Mm-hmm.
So he and I kind of hit it off, and we still talk. And I sent him this thing like, hey, look at my YouTube and tell me what you think, because I don't know if anybody will like it or if I'm just weird to think that anybody will watch it. So he was like, oh my God. He goes, you got a smartphone and a YouTube? So yeah, it's the same thing.
I just started podcasting when I got home, yeah. So
what made you do that?
I just talked to so many people that I think a lot of people, when they share their story, other people are experiencing something similar, even though it's maybe not the same. And like the camaraderie that you find among hikers is so interesting, because a lot of us come from totally different backgrounds, but you end up bonding so strongly with people. So I just kind of started interviewing people about mostly like why you're hiking, and how it affected you, like mentally. Did you transform at all? And everyone, of course, has their like transformation story.
Yep.
And there's some people, like there's one guy I interviewed, he's from Georgia and he's now living in Hawaii, and he like had never been backpacking, never been outside, decided to do the AT, started with like terrible gear, had no money, ran out of money in New York, still finished.
Wow.
And it's like, how? And it's all just like kindness to strangers, perseverance.
Well, that's why I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole... I mean, what I learned is that what you just said is perfect, because that is exactly the same experiences that I've had. And then you start talking to... Last year I was talking to so many different people that are starting, like yourself, that were hiking, and it was like, that's pretty cool. So their stories are a little different, and then they don't really know what they're getting into.
Oh,
and then
totally,
it's like,
And then you meet them after trail, and it's like, you're a totally different person. Like, my parents picked me up, and they were like, who are you?
Yeah, no, that's true.
I moved back in with my parents after trail, and I met, in Fontana Dam, I met this guy, and I had the biggest crush on him. And he caught up to me in Marion, Virginia, and was like, hey, I can't find a motel room, they're all booked, can I share with you if you're alone? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, because I knew him, sort of.
Right.
And now we're dating, we live together in North Carolina, and it's great. And like, shit like that only happens on trail. You meet some stranger in the woods. So we moved in with my parents, and then we ran out of firewood, we were living in Maine.
Oh my
and
God.
It was like too cold to not do that. So I was like, guys, I'm gonna go, because we were living just like in this trailer in their backyard.
That's great.
Because I'm not gonna live in their house, it's so small. And so we both decided, like, his mom lives in North Carolina, why aren't we living with her? It's so much warmer there.
Right.
So we both moved down here.
Okay.
But it was so funny to be, like, I'm 6 hours from the trail.
Yeah.
In North Carolina, and to me I was like, oh, it's so close, I can just go. And he was like, what are you talking about, it's 6 hours, but at home in Maine it's 18 and a half at least. And so it's just such a different, so funny to be able to have like the proximity, and it's not even that close. And I lived in North Conway, it's right on trail in New Hampshire, but it's not, I'm not going hiking on 4,000 footers in winter without proper gear.
I've shuttled a couple people that South Mountain. There's one guy that I took down into Dahlonega. He started his South Mountain, I want to say right around September, October-ish, and I was just like, oh my God.
That's gotta be cold.
Yeah, I could not even imagine going through.
I don't do well with camping in the cold either. Like, I don't think any women do.
I got lucky on mine, because
I have a 0 degree bag now, thankfully, and I got the Thermarest X Therm, so I went all out on the warmth.
Yeah, right now it's still, you still, The guys that are starting in February, I just, you're still gonna hit it. You're still gonna get some cold.
Oh yeah, and the cold rain is the worst. Like, I would rather walk through snow than cold rain, and it kills your tent. Like, okay, last night I was an idiot too. So I was thinking, get as close to Blood Mountain as possible, and you can walk it in tomorrow because I'd already done 20 miles. I was like, what's 4 more?
Right.
It's fine. So I pushed myself, thinking like, the earlier I get to my car, the earlier I get home, because I still have to drive home, and I have work tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, I need to go as far as possible. I was 2 miles away from doing a marathon, but if I did the marathon, I would have been walking into a foggy evening and up to the Blood Mountain shelter where I did not want to be sleeping.
Yeah.
So I got to Woods Hole, and I didn't realize how far off trail it was. And I was like, I am not fucking walking down there. This Blue Blaze is the longest Blue Blaze I have seen in a long time. And I don't have, like, Gut Hook anymore. I purposefully did not log back into Gut Hook because I did not want to be anally checking it every 2 minutes with anxiety, because I did that when I was through hiking, which is so stupid. It's so, you put, like, this stupid pressure on yourself and you just keep looking at it. It's so anxiety inducing. So I didn't download it. I just, like, screenshotted AWOL guide. So I have no idea, like, how far things are, and God, it was awful. So I just got water on the Blue Blaze, and I went back to the campsites that were right on trail.
Right up there.
And it really wasn't windy when I set up. It was just sprinkling, and then it started downpouring, and then the wind came. And like 2 hours into the wind, like 3 of my tent stakes came out at once, and the whole tent just came down on me. And I don't use 3-piece tents. Like, on my through hike, I had a tarp tent. And 3-piece tents are weak as fuck. Like, so weak. It just fell right in. And I don't know what I expected. I mean, it was really windy, but my tent, it would have just rippled, and it would have just been like, meh, whatever. But this 3-piece tent that I had was just, it was great. It kept the rain out better than my tarp tent. But it was not good for wind. Because with the tarp tent, it's just one pole, and then everything's staked out. So as long as your stakes are good, you're fine. But with the 3-piece tent, it like turns into a kite, and it just, you think it's gonna like take off and fly away with you in it or something. If I was a new thru hiker and that was my experience last night, you best believe I would have gotten a cabin when I got here, and I would have been crying all night. Because when I started the trail, I had like never been backpacking, I'd never been camping. And now I realize why I was so scared and miserable in the beginning. I was like always calling my parents, and I don't know, I got a Blood Mountain cabin. I didn't need to get, I would have probably been fine. I look back and think, but now that I experienced this weekend, I realize, I should have been miserable. I forgot what the cold rain feels like.
It does give you a different perspective on hiking when you've already done something like that. Like, you can kind of tap into something out there when it gets pretty miserable and just stick it out.
Yeah, totally. And like yesterday, I couldn't sleep Saturday night. So Sunday morning, I woke up at like 4. I slept maybe 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you know what? I can't sleep. I'm anxious. Why am I just laying here when I could be hiking? So I got up and started hiking. And it wasn't raining or anything. Everything was fine. And then like half an hour into my hiking, it starts raining, of course. And then the fog rolled in. And it's still dark. And I know the Georgia fog. I know it exists. I know there's a reason I hate night hiking, but I do it anyway. And my right contact gets washed out of my eye, so I couldn't see anything. And the fog just got so bad, and I came to that junction at Hightower Gap where you have to cross the forest road, and I couldn't see the trail. Like, I couldn't find another white blaze. And I was like, I know that I've been here before, but I've hiked so many miles now that I don't even remember this. So I'm just not gonna, because I could just see myself getting lost or something. And I just pitched my tent right there, like right next to the road, and I was like, I'll just stick it out for 2 hours. It was too cold to not, like, you can't just stand there. So I just pitched my tent, got back in my sleeping bag, and waited it out, and I ended up falling asleep until like 8 a.m. And then I realized that it was like a marathon to Neil from there. So I was like, oh, I could do a marathon.
Yeah, there goes the...
Yeah, it's
There goes
fine.
the thru-hiker mentality.
So I just started walking, and I ended up making it like 19 miles. Yeah, I mean, I only have 3.5 miles left. So yesterday I did like 23 miles, though, if you include the time from 4 to 5 that I was hiking. And I did 4 miles from 4 to 5.
That's awesome.
I don't know how or why. Like, it was dark and foggy. It should have been much slower than that. But this morning, coming down Blood Mountain after doing that yesterday the descent was really hard.
Yeah, it gets really, when you get a lot of rain, that coming off of it is pretty sketchy.
Yeah, it's like, it wasn't as slippery as I expected,
Right.
but gosh, my hips and my knees are just so like sore now that if I had, I don't know, I don't have like the stability muscles because they're done, you know? Like I used them up yesterday.
I guess, yeah, you pushed it hard.
Yeah, and the last time I went hiking was in December in like 4 feet of snow, and we did 12 miles, and I was dead.
That's brutal.
Oh, it was. But it was really fun, and it was a beautiful view. And for the first time, I think, I did not have waxy white toes when I finished. Because I wore Boggs boots, which are actually really for like rain and mucking, but they're great winter hiking boots if you break them in.
I was thinking on because I did a South Mountain, and after I did the 100 mile the year I did it, I was like, man, I should have brought bog boots up here and like, switched. Because that would have been a perfect boot to have. It rained on us the entire 100 mile, and it, the 100 miles is a swamp anyway. So, up until you get to Whitecap. Well, for us it's Whitecap. When y'all come over Whitecap, it gets really murky and
it's wet at those low elevations. Totally. Oh yeah. It's funny because I'm from the Whites, so when I got to Mount Washington, I was very. It was the finish for me.
Yeah.
That was, I made it. I walked home, and
that's cool.
Getting back on trail after that, so I slack
so you came off.
Yeah, my parents, picked me up because that was the agreement. You can't come home until you've walked here.
Right.
And they like helped me out a little bit monetarily, so that was the rule. And I got there, so I was like, you best believe I'm going home and petting my cat. So I went home, and then my mom, who is just a saint, said, well, do you want to slack pack the Whites? And we're sitting here thinking we don't want to deal with the camping and the groveling to sleep on the floor of a hut, so maybe this could be good. So we did like 22, we did 16 our first day over Kinsman, the 2 Kinsman peaks, and then we did 22 the next stretch, and then to really blow it out of the water, my mom was like, I bet you guys could make it like all the way over that middle section that goes over Mount Washington. And we looked at the guidebook. 27 miles.
Yeah, it's a brutal hike.
It was so hard. But we got to this point where it was like, okay, I'd also been listening to the Ultra Runner podcast for like a week now. And that is just, that'll boost your ego because everybody on there is doing that, but like 100 miles.
Yeah.
And
those guys are crazy.
They are. They're insane. They're on another level. Like Courtney DeWalter, she was on the Rogan podcast.
I watched it.
Did you?
Yeah.
She's talking about like hallucinating and stuff, and I'm sitting here thinking, who the heck puts themselves through that?
Oh yeah, and it was funny because Rogan was like, how did you know you were hallucinating? She goes, well, I'm pretty sure those little leprechauns that were following me aren't real. I started laughing.
It's insane.
And the part where her husband, where she says in the interview, she gets to the one part where the different parts of that run, you could have a pacer.
Yeah.
And she was at the point where her husband was the pacer, was going to be her pacer, and he goes, are you tired? Do you need to rest? Blah blah blah. And she goes, yeah, just let me sleep for like a minute or two. I forgot, it was some ridiculous short amount of time. And he woke her up, and she was pissed because he thought that he had allowed her to sleep for like an hour or so.
Yeah.
She felt so refreshed, and he had to convince her that, no, I only let you sleep for that, whatever, 1 or 2 minutes. And I thought, Jesus, man, you're in a whole different mindset.
Totally.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, those guys go to a place in their mind that I think we all have. It's just how they tap into it. It is unbelievable.
Right? And did you listen to the Colin O'Brady episode?
I've listened to a little bit of that. That's the newer one. So I did listen to about half of it.
It's so good. Well, so he posted that video of his tent blowing over. And
I didn't
last
see that.
night it was like about to blow away, and he got it and staked it down, and
because
he was all windy.
I heard him in there talking about if your tent goes in Antarctica.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah.
That was crazy.
That's so terrifying to me.
Oh yeah.
But last night when my tent blew over, I just thought, well, Colin O'Brady would have bitch out of this. Like, sometimes. So I think one of my favorite things on trail was the fact that you had time to listen to as many podcasts as you wanted, as long as you downloaded them.
Were you listening to Rogan before?
Yeah.
I started listening to...
I didn't listen to Rogan until I started trail.
I listened to him after I finished my hike. People were talking about him.
Yeah.
And I had a flip phone and a Zoom, and that was what I had on the trail. So no podcast for me, but yeah, I started listening to him, and I thought how odd that... I don't know, call me weird, but I viewed him as the guy off of Fear Factor.
Yeah, totally. Well, that was like the first thing he was really famous
I gave him a shot, and honestly, ever since then, I listen to a lot of his stuff. Just while I'm doing stuff.
Yeah, totally. I listen to like anything with some kind of adventure, anything with a scholar, and anything with a woman guest. Those ones are always good. But like, I don't know, some of it is too like, I don't know, we call it dick blasting. Like they're, the comedians just making their dick jokes. I don't listen to those ones, but like the one with Valentine Thomas was really interesting because I never even thought about like how unsustainable fishing could be, or like what it was doing to the ocean. Because to us, like, if you don't know anything about marine biology, the ocean is vast. There are parts of it we've never explored. How could we already be destroying the whole thing?
Well, I just think it's cool because it gets you to think about different things.
Yeah, he talks to so many different kinds of people.
It's such a, I don't know, it's also, it allows, it's kind of refreshing because there's not just people yelling back and forth.
Yeah.
So you actually have a conversation, which is a lot what the trail was to me. It was a lot of different, like you were saying at the beginning, it was a lot of different people coming together because of this little brown path that runs from Maine to Georgia, and so all these different people that you would never run into in your wildest dreams in life.
Right.
But because of that path, you come together and there's that common bond, that common ground, and everybody just gets along. I mean, I wouldn't say...
Even when you don't like somebody, it's easy to just be like, you know what, I'm just not going to talk to you.
That's what I was getting
at. Yeah, totally.
I mean, you don't have to be around them. You can...
Yeah, you can.
But everybody was not. Well, at least in my experiences, everybody was nice.
Mm-hmm.
I had maybe one negative experience.
I had like a few bad experiences.
He was a northbounder, and I didn't have to say it, so it was no big deal to me.
I think most of my bad experiences were just not realizing when people are trying to be romantically nice to you. That was my issue. But other than that, I didn't have any experiences that were like super terrible with anybody. I mean, it's nice to be able, without all the technology and the bullshit and all those boxes that I think we in society put each other in, it's so much easier to just talk to people. And eye contact, did you notice that when you got off trail, that people in like the real world don't make eye contact at all? It's very interesting. I think part of that is just because we're always looking at our phones and stuff. But
my son, when he went to college, he went to UGA, and when he was in Athens, he would make a point to try to have conversations with people on the bus, going from off campus to on campus. And he's like, Dad, they don't even look at you. They look at you like you're crazy when you try to start a conversation with them.
I used to try to talk to people on the subway in Boston.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk to you.
I'm sure it's the same experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's so interesting. Everybody, the thing about on trail is for the most part, you have all the time in the world. Like, some people are on a deadline. I get that. But for the most part, you got time. So you have the time to talk to people. And you have the time to think about things that you wouldn't maybe think about in the real world. And
that's 100% true right there.
It's like the amount of breakthroughs and development that you go through, part of it is because you're doing this really hard thing. But I think a big part of it is just because you have time to be with yourself and your thoughts, and you don't have to worry about other things. It's like a cleanse, you know?
I say the same thing. It's like, my analogy is it's like you're like a snake, you're shedding the old skin and the new skin's coming out, and you just got this whole different vibe and this whole different thing. It definitely changes you. I don't think anybody that has hiked it that I've talked to, it hadn't changed.
Yeah.
Or they say, no, I'm the same guy. You know, most people will tell you that it has changed them in one way or another. And this year I've shuttled so many people that it seems like everybody that I have shuttled has done a through hike. So it's like kind of refreshing that in a way, because it allows, when you start talking about your through hike, to me, I relive parts of my through hike.
And it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And last year, shuttling people to the trail, it got me really wanting to do another through hike that I'd never, when I got off, I had friends of mine contact me like, so when you doing the PCT? And I'm like, I'm not doing the PCT. And now I'm like, I really want to do the PCT. So it's just,
I think, so when I started, I really hated when I got to Pennsylvania, I thought I was going to go home. I really thought so.
So let me ask you that. You got to Pennsylvania. And because I have my own theory on Pennsylvania. And I'm just curious if yours is the same. So you hit the halfway mark, and you're like, yay, and then your mind kicks in, and you're like, what the hell? It was so hard to get there. I've still got that many more miles to go.
I think part of it...
Is that it, or is it...
Part of it was like, I was really uncomfortable.
Okay.
Because, A, I was uncomfortable because I was learning about myself, and I was trying to be a better person.
Okay.
And B, I also... So I went off of all antidepressants and all sleeping medication for the trail. Because I wanted to see if I could stop taking them forever.
Yeah.
And so going through that was really hard. And on top of all that, I just had like a lot of roadblocks when I started. Like, I didn't have the right gear, and I didn't have experience, and I had some people maybe not be the best to me, and it was just the beginning was very hard. So by the time I got to Virginia, I was like, oh, Virginia is the best thing on earth.
I like that.
And because it was warm, and everything was easy, and it was nice, and although I was still going through these mentally hard things, it was a place of euphoria.
It's a really beautiful state.
It was, and it was so green, and everything was lush all of a sudden, and it was just so nice.
So you enjoyed the green tunnel?
Yeah. Oh, I love the green tunnel. It's like a hug from Mother Nature.
I'm the same way. It doesn't bother me at all. I've hiked up here, like, you know, where there's no leaves, and then there's leaves, so it's just like I love having the leaves and flowers.
I love walking through like a rhododendron tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah.
But, so, then when we got to Pennsylvania, we had the first 3 days in Pennsylvania were super weird. Like, we got some very weird trail magic. And may or may not have witnessed a shooting, but we're not really sure. And it was just bizarre. And I think like all of the discomfort and exhaustion, because I wasn't sleeping well because I was not taking sleeping medication. And I think it all just built. And I finally got to a point where I was like, why am I doing this? I could totally just go home. And my shoes blew out, of course, because it's Pennsylvania. And it was just, my poles broke because it's Pennsylvania. All of my tent stakes were bent. And it's the little bullshit things that sort of add up sometimes. And you're like, this is too much. This is all too much. And I got to a point where I have a cat named Bonnie, and I missed her so much at that point that I would like call my mom and say, can you send me pictures? Like, send me videos. I need to see her. And like, that's gonna do anything. What I obviously was craving was like the oxytocin of petting her, but it was just, I felt really homesick, but I knew that going home wasn't going to make anything better, you know? Like, if I didn't finish, how am I gonna feel? Bad. Really bad. I would just end up being depressed, and I would be living in my parents' very tiny house with them, and working at Starbucks again? Wow. You made it.
Yeah.
So I kind of, I guess, convinced myself that I couldn't keep going like that, and my boyfriend was like, you know, if you're gonna hate on the trail and you're gonna be negative about it, and your perspective is gonna be, I hate being here but I have to do this, then you're never gonna enjoy it, and it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck the whole time, and you're gonna suck it all the way to Maine. Is that what you want to do? Be miserable? And so at that point, I like conscientiously made an effort every day to find something that I really liked about the trail, or that I liked about camping, and I like forced myself to look at it from that perspective. And I told him, like, if I'm being negative, you tell me. And it was apparently quite a lot, because that first week when he was telling me I was being negative was so hard. He was like, what do you mean I'm being negative? That's not negative at all. And it's totally negative.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, I'll just complain about something, and he's like, well, you know, you don't need to complain about that.
Right.
It's not a complaint. That is definitely a complaint. So, but once I started looking at it that way, I came to a point where it was like, everything was so much more beautiful, and everything was, I released a lot of like stress and tension because I wasn't sitting here forcing myself to be miserable. I was sitting here forcing myself to be positive.
Right.
And it was like the perspective shift changed everything. Like all the bad luck things that were happening to me, kind of, they didn't stop happening, but they subsided. They weren't as bad. Or I had like, I don't know, I would have just these like nights of sleepless, anxious, racing thoughts, and part of that is because of the medication. But at that point, I was far enough in that it shouldn't have affected me anymore, and it was just stress racing thoughts, you know. And when I started being more positive, I slept better, which is so strange to me. But I got to a point where I could count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my head really slowly, and imagine each number, and I would be asleep by the time I got to 5.
That's crazy.
And that's just not, I've never been that calm in my life. And it's because I wasn't like sitting around worrying about every little stupid thing. And when I learned that you can't plan stuff on the trail, that's when my experience really got better.
Yeah. Well, you know, you hit on some things. My wife, I called my wife from some little piece of crap motel. I'd stayed in a place in Pennsylvania that I feared sleeping in the bed.
That
it wasn't the Doyle.
Yeah,
It was not the Doyle. So I was like, I was in a weird spot. You know, my wife and I were having our 25th anniversary was coming up. I'm here in this piece of crap town, this piece of crap, and then, you know, everything crashed down, and I had this huge pity party, and I'm calling her the next day, and I'm sitting there crying to her in the phone. And finally, she was like, all right, you want me to come get you? I was like, I'm not quitting. She goes, well, you need to quit focusing in on the negatives and start looking at the positives. Like, you're getting to do something not everybody gets to do.
Yeah.
She was like, you need to focus in on that. And ever since that time, the rest of my hike was just like a whole different hike.
Yeah, totally.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I had a bad hike up until that point, but for whatever reason, that little stretch in PA had gotten this negative thing going on in my mind. And it just, I was like, you know what? She's right. And then that was that. And then the rest of my hike, I never had another negative, really thought or moment. But it was funny.
Like,
you were talking about gut hook.
Yeah.
I did a hike from Springer to Hot Springs the year before, and I found, of course, I didn't have a smartphone, but I had copies of the AWOL guide in my pocket, and I found that I was looking at those stupid pages all the freaking time, and I lost them out of my pocket on the trail.
Anxious?
And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it was getting down, I was going down in the NOC, and I'm like, and then it dawned on me, I have looked more at pieces of paper in my pocket than I have at what the hell is around me.
Exactly.
And it was like, so I bought a guide because I was still going, you know, I still have miles to go. But I made sure this time I put it in my pack. so I couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
So I did it would physically, I would have to take it off, and I wasn't about to stop hiking. So it was just, it was a relief. So this time when I did my through hike, I was the same way. I'd learned that. So I would put it in my pack and not look at crap.
Yeah.
I would look at it that night when I got to the shelter to kind of figure out where I wanted to go, and that was that.
Yeah.
Didn't plan, like you were saying, I didn't plan shit. I just was like, here we go. Let's see what happens. I kind of had an idea how many miles I wanted to go each day.
Mm-hmm.
I would look at where water was, obviously. But other than that, I just winged it.
And that's how it should be. Well, at least on the AT, that's how it should be. Because there's enough, I mean,
oh, yeah.
except for like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, there's enough water, you're fine. Like, you don't need to be looking at it. And if you're looking at how many miles you've gone or like the elevation profile, it's all bullshit. You're just getting in your head. Like, if you just walk, you would be so much happier.
Well, I think it does another thing too. I think when you start planning and you start figuring I'm gonna do this, and this, and when it doesn't happen automatically, it's like you start what's going on now? You start getting that negative thing coming over you instead of just saying, hey, I'm gonna hike.
Yeah.
Let's see where we go today. You're like, oh man, I'm 3 days behind schedule, and now you're panicking.
Anxious.
Yeah, it's just totally.
Exactly.
I think in that and the expectation, I think people come out to the trail with this expectation, and I think that if it doesn't live up to whatever that expectation is, it makes it easier for you to end your hike, because you're like, well, this is not what I wanted.
Totally.
This is this.
I think expectations ruined it for me in the beginning.
In the beginning,
yeah.
Okay.
Because
I think it's cool that you drew on the strength to keep going.
I don't even know where it came. I have never committed so hard to something because I don't know. When I was younger, I used to quit things when they were uncomfortable. Like right away. I went to field hockey practice in middle school. Went one day and I was like, I have asthma. I can't do this anymore, Mom. And she was like, so you're just scared? And I was like, yep, it's fine. Just didn't do it. Or like the amount of auditions that I never went to when I was playing music because I was too afraid that I wouldn't get it, you know?
I got you.
And I just would quit everything. And I think that pressure of like, you have quit everything in your life. Are you going to quit this too?
So you just kind of turned it around.
Yeah, and part of it, I think I also realized was I need a change in my life, and it needs to be so completely drastic and uncomfortable that I change, because these little baby step changes aren't doing anything for me. You know what I mean? And I'd been on, over the past year before that, I'd been on 4 different SSRI medications to try to like balance out the depression, and I'm like, it cannot be, like, I cannot be on these medications for the rest of my life. The side effects were so unbearable. Yeah. So I'm thinking like, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna have to take these SSRIs, and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna work at Starbucks, and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna live with my parents, and I'm a college graduate, but I'm not gonna use my degree. And it all was just like, this is what you're going home to, so why not, at least change yourself before you get there.
That's awesome. That's a great way to look at it.
I think it depends on, what your why is for the trail. Because some people hike because they're like, I saw it on YouTube and I love it. And that's great. Or I'm a cure junkie. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
But there's some people that, like, when they make it their mission to, I came out here to change, I came out here to be a better person. Like, I met some guy who came out here because he was a coke addict. And he went to rehab, and they would let him walk around the grounds, and that was like the only time he got to go outside, and he realized it was the only time he felt good. So he got like the cheapest possible gear, and he just went, and he did work for stay in every town, and he like barely scraped by. I don't even know if he finished.
At that point, it really doesn't matter, because he's probably already accomplished so much.
What his goal was.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, like, me getting to Mount Washington, I accomplished my goal. I didn't need to do Maine, in my mind, And it's like, to finish your thru hike, you need to do Maine. But I, in my mind, had done what I came to do.
I had a similar experience when I got to Hot Springs, because the year before I'd already hiked